So it's about the time of the year to start thinning those grapevines if you have, a bunch of growth like this. And if not, you'll probably have grapevines that look like this in the next month or two. And so I want to show you how to take advantage of all those extra shoots you're going to be tearing off and turn them into new grapevines. So as you detach them, save them, and let me show you what to do. Thanks for watching. The trick here is to find an unwanted branch. And you're going to want a shoot. So you're going to want green growth connected to brown growth. In other words, you're going to want this year's growth connected to something that's, at least a year or two old or older. And I've actually found that if it's older than that, it works even better. But I've already torn all these off on my other older grapevines and used them for experiments, and I'll show you the results in just a minute, but I want to show you how to do it. So the basic idea is the older the growth that it's coming off of, the better. But you're going to want to focus on just the green portion. And you're going to want to try to detach it. Without clippers, you're going to want to tear it off. And I've made this mistake before trying to propagate green cuttings, and they don't really work if you cut off those lower nodes. And I'll explain why in just a sec. But as you can see there, that's a pretty good one that I'm going to use. So I'm going to want to detach it as close as possible. So as you can see right here, there's a bunch of nodes that are overlapping here. I would say there's at least 3 or 4 nodes connected at the base of this. So if you can just wiggle it until it tears off. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of overlapping nodes. I would say there's at least 4 nodes all crushed in this little area right here. So this includes what's called the lateral cambium and pericycle, which is basically just that vascular tissue called the cambium, has a bunch of cells, and those cells are undifferentiated. So they have the ability to become shoots or roots or other things, and you can probably guess what I'm going to try to convince them to become. And just because that tissue right there has an extremely high concentration, we're going to have a much higher probability of success. Whereas if I was to snip further up on this and try to do, up higher, maybe cut right here and try to expect this single node to produce roots, it might. But the problem is I'm doing this into water, and with grapevines, it's very, very difficult to get green cuttings to root, at least with red flame seedless or Thompson seedless, which is what I'm experimenting with right now. And this one's a Thompson, I believe. Yeah, this is a Thompson. So anyway, I'm going to be removing some of the leaves in these lower areas, and I'll explain more of what I'm doing in just a moment. All right, so I took this inside. It's pretty warm outside, and I don't want it to get shocked, and so I brought it inside. And as I said, there's vascular cambium. That's just the vascular tissue inside the plant. And so I'm going to remove some of these leaves near the base. I don't know why all this stuff's so hard to do with one hand. That should be plenty. And so, yeah, there's pericycle, vascular cambium. That lateral meristem here is where those roots should develop. And I'll show you some examples of what it's going to look like after you have success. And you don't even need rooting powder or anything. All right, so this is the one I just picked. And near the base here, of course, there's nothing yet. But what you'll have is a ring of roots trying to push through the cambium. And I've heard of some people wanting to scrape off some of this, but it doesn't really matter. It'll punch through just fine, especially with green cuttings. So normally grapes don't root in water very well, but with this method, it seems to work. So these two I did a day ago. And let's see if we can see. It's hard to see on that one. I mean, I can see them starting to form, but it's hard to point out on video.
Yeah. You can see some white dots starting to form around the base. Yeah, like right here, so I can get to focus. You can see some of the pericycle pushing some roots. It's only been 2 days. All right, let me show you what it looks like after 5 days. So, see these white bumps? They're like little warts. This one's about 5 days old, and you can see those. So if it's been about 5 days and you're not seeing anything, you know, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna work, but you know, you might have some problems. So that's about 5 days. And then this one I did about a week ago. And you can really see the roots forming here. See a little cluster coming out there. There's a little one coming out right there. The other trick is you want to change the water pretty often. I change the water like pretty much every day, just because I don't want anything rotting. And you see a little bit of rot on the ends here because they didn't callus very well. This one I think has the most roots, so you can see it goes all the way around. This is what I was trying to point out on that other cutting. You could actually see these little bumps forming before they became roots. Actually looks like Darth Maul's head. So anyway, roots coming all the way around. I believe this one is red flame seedless. And it's interesting the way it withered down to the node. And this leaf is pushing transpiration. It's important to have a leaf on green cuttings. I've seen some people cut all the leaves off and then the green cutting doesn't work because you need the transpiration, which is water loss. The plant basically is forcing evaporation to happen, or I don't know if it's forcing, permitting evaporation to happen as it does photosynthesis. And as evaporation is coming through the leaf, it creates a deficiency of water, which causes the plant to, through capillary action, pull water up through the vascular tissue. And if it needs more water than it can provide, that's when you start promoting the hormones that are called auxin hormones that'll actually cause the root production. And so you need to balance that. So I tried to limit how many leaves I had. This only has one, some of the other ones had 2 or 3 leaves, just doing an experiment to see which one rooted the fastest. And in this particular experiment, the one that had 1 leaf, but I only had 1 cutting that had 1 leaf, so it's not very scientific. Probably be better if I had like 10 with 1 leaf, 10 with 2 leaves, and 10 with 3 leaves, and then, you know, compared those results. But as far as it goes with just 1 of each, it looks like the one with 1 leaf put out roots the fastest. I don't know if this is gonna survive. The other ones had multiple leaves just because I was worried that, you know, this particular loss right here, if the plant decided to reject this last leaf, it would have, you know, it would have that node and that node, but it might fail even though it has roots. So something to consider. But this experiment does work. You can propagate grapes in water, unlike some people believe. So thanks for watching.